The story of the United States begins not in 1776, but millennia earlier, when the first indigenous peoples crossed the Bering Land Bridge during the last ice age, approximately 20,000 to 30,000 years ago. These early inhabitants gradually developed complex societies across the continent, from the advanced agricultural systems of the Mississippian culture 800-1600 CE, with their impressive mountain cities like Cahokia, to the sophisticated irrigation techniques of the ancestral Puebloans in the arid Southwest. By the time European explorers arrived, an estimated 5 to 10 million Native Americans inhabited the territory that would become the United States, speaking hundreds of distinct languages and practicing diverse cultural traditions. The European colonization era began in earnest following Christopher Columbus's 1492 voyage, though the first sustained contact came with Juan Ponce de Leon's 1513 exploration of Florida. Spanish settlements like St. Augustine, 1565, predated English colonies by decades. The colonial period, 1607 to 1776, saw three distinct regional cultures emerge. The Puritan-dominated New England colonies with their town meetings and emphasis on education, the mill colonies like New York and Pennsylvania that became melting pots of European immigrants, and the plantation-based southern colonies where the economy revolved around tobacco, rice, and indigo cultivation using enslaved African labor. This peculiar institution of slavery would become the nation's original sin, with approximately 400,000 Africans forcibly brought to British North America before the transatlantic slave trade ended in 1808. The road to revolution accelerated after the French and Indian War, 1754 to 1763, when Britain's attempt to recoup war costs through taxes like the Stamp Act, 1765, and Tea Act, 1773, met with growing resistance. The intellectual foundations of rebellion drew from Enlightenment thinkers like John Locke, while colonial leaders such as Samuel Adams and Patrick Henry organized opposition. The Continental Congress's 1776 Declaration of Independence, primarily authored by Thomas Jefferson, articulated revolutionary principles that still resonate globally. The Revolutionary War's turning point came at Saratoga, 1777, convincing France to ally with the Americans. General Washington's leadership during the brutal winter at Valley Forge, 1777 to 78, and the eventual victory at Yorktown, 1781, demonstrated remarkable perseverance against the world's strongest military power. Creating a new nation proved equally challenging. The Articles of Confederation's weaknesses led to the Constitutional Convention of 1787, where framers like James Madison crafted a novel federal system with checks and balances. Early national development under Presidents Washington, Adams, and Jefferson established crucial precedents, while Louisiana Purchase, 1803, unexpectedly doubled the nation's size. The War of 1812 against Britain confirmed American independence, while spurring economic nationalism. By the 1820s, the Industrial Revolution transformed northern cities, while southern king cotton agriculture expanded slavery westward, creating growing sectional tensions. The mid-19th century witnessed manifest destiny's fulfillment through territorial acquisitions like Texas, 1845, and the Mexican Cession, 1848, but also increasing conflict over slavery's expansion. The Compromise of 1850 and Kansas-Nebraska Act, 1854, failed to resolve these tensions. Abraham Lincoln's 1860 election triggered Southern secession, leading to the Civil War, 1861 to 1865, the nation's bloodiest conflict with approximately 750,000 deaths. The Union victory preserved the nation and abolished slavery through the 13th Amendment, but Reconstruction's promise of racial equality was largely abandoned by the 1877 Compromise, leaving a legacy of discrimination. The late 19th century saw explosive industrial growth, with tycoons like Rockefeller and Carnegie building vast fortunes while workers organized unions. The 1890s closing of the frontier and victory in the Spanish-American War, 1898, marked America's emergence as a global power. The Progressive Era, 1890s-1920, brought reforms addressing industrialization's excesses, including trust-busting women's suffrage, 19th Amendment, 1920, and food safety regulations. The 20th century witnessed America's rise to superpower status through 2 world wars and the Cold War. The 1929 stock market crash and subsequent Great Depression led to FDR's New Deal, fundamentally expanding government's economic role. Post-World War II prosperity created a large middle class, while the Civil Rights Movement, 1954 to 1968, challenged racial segregation through landmark legislation like the Civil Rights Act 1964 and Voting Rights Act 1965. The Vietnam War era, 1955 to 1975, created deep social divisions, while the 1980s saw a conservative resurgence under Reagan. The post-Cold War period, 1991 present, has been marked by technological revolution, globalization, and new security challenges following 9/11. Contemporary debates over immigration, economic inequality, and America's global role reflect ongoing tensions between the nation's ideals and realities. Through 4 centuries of development, the United States has demonstrated remarkable resilience and capacity for reinvention, while continuing to grapple with the fundamental questions of liberty, equality, and democratic governance first posed by its founders.